Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BigSin podcast. I am your host Sinji. With me, Big Tone Son. I almost introduced Ray first.
Yo,
Wrong channel. And usual guest Ray all day.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right, so today we're gonna be talking about consoles again. The next generation of consoles. Sony just released the trailer through Unreal Engine 5 or something like that. They like completely blew Xbox out of the water because they didn't really release much. And we're gonna be talking about that and a couple other things, like things we don't want to see coming up in the next generation of consoles and whatnot. So to start it off, I think Raymond, you watched the video, right?
Yeah, I just did. Like, literally right before we went on air.
And Tone, you watched that? Oh yeah, you sent it to me and everybody to watch.
yes.
Quick question. Because I'm actually not sure since you kind of like put it out that way. Does Sony own Unreal Engine?
I think
No,
that
they
was
don't.
no, they don't. I think that was gonna be like a
Okay.
that was
'Cause, like,
specifically for the PlayStation.
okay. Because like I was just like, wait. I was like, I thought Unreal Engine was like their own like. They were just like their own thing. That's why I was just like, wait, does Sony own Unreal Engine? Because I know a lot of games that use the engine. It's just, I was just curious.
Yeah. I think what it was like that specific trailer. I don't know if that's gonna pan out to be an actual game or not, which I hope it is.
It
Cause
looks cool.
anyone who knows me, towards the end, with the bitch just started flying and hopping everywhere, I was like hooked. I was like, I want to do that everywhere. I will climb a mountain and jump off to have to climb that mountain again. But I think what it is that game was specific to like be able to for the PlayStation be able to handle.
Yeah, for sure. Even
Yeah,
the
I think it
flying
was.
part looked like a set piece. It didn't really look like a free roam kind of dynamic.
I think it was just a tech demo, just to show what the Unreal Engine's going to look like on the PlayStation.
Yeah. It looked like discount Tomb Raider. What was the other game? Like
Uncharted.
discount Tomb Raider, Uncharted, and oh my God, the other game.
Don't say Horizon.
Yeah, Horizon. Yeah,
Nah,
discount
man,
Horizon,
no way.
Uncharted, and her character design was almost to a T. It was literally Lara Croft and Aloy like put together. But it was really cool. Like it definitely showcased the photorealism that they can achieve with that engine. And like literally my first question when I was watching this and like just listening to them talk about it for a little bit, it looks amazing when it's simulating real environments and like real looking people. But I was thinking about like games that use the Unreal Engine and I was really wondering like how would like a game like Tekken 8 look like Unreal Engine? Because they're like supposed to be real people, but at the same time they're also like not real people. They have like weird body proportions. And for it to look that real and then you have like these weird body proportions, they might not try to make it look like that. Or a game like Street Fighter, although I don't think they use Unreal, but like Street Fighter characters look really funky, and it's like I wonder what they would look like with that level of graphics. Like it would be weird to make them look like real people. So I'm
Well,
wondering like what other art styles would look like on this level of like graphics.
something that they mentioned, which I found interesting for the scenery, that they might not do it too often. All right, so like something they can do. I'll mention what they did first. They treated the scene like it was like a movie instead of a game. And that's how like they came across that scene, and that's why it looks so good. It's almost like
Yeah, they
you
use
can
the
see it in a
cinematic
movie.
rates.
Yeah. So something games should do more often that they like don't too many don't is Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy 7 remake, both of the remakes, their their transition from game to cutscene is almost seamless.
Yeah, they do it pretty good. I don't know about the Final Fantasy end of it, but I could like look it up and stuff. It's very seamless in Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, and like that's something like a lot of games don't do. Like you have gameplay and you have the cutscene, but you obviously know which one's a cutscene and which not. Like Resident Evil 3, like, you almost have to, like, make sure you're not playing sometimes.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's more like a matter of them trying to, because like especially when they used to do tech demos before, they wouldn't show you actual gameplay most of the time. They would have a rig setup where it's like they'll show you mostly cutscenes because their cutscene rigs are like highly more detailed and the graphics are bumped up. And I think it's just them trying to make their stuff look better. Because if we want to talk about people who blatantly did that, uh, before they put their game out, it was what was that game? Watch Dogs. The first Watch Dogs.
Oh man, Watch Dogs.
Yeah, they super bumped up their graphics and stuff when they were like showcasing the game, and like
The
when it actually
division did
came
it.
out, it looked like butt cheeks compared to like what they were showing everybody. So that's what I feel like sometimes with like tech demos, they do that a lot. They like super upscale everything and use like different rigs. So I was kind of like happy that he was honest with everybody and he was like, yeah, this is like the cutscene kind of model you would use for these like setups. But obviously he showed it like in game too, which like there was no significant drop off, and he was explaining all the technical aspects of it, which I'm not too smart about. So like it was cool to hear, but like I didn't understand all of it. But it looks good for photorealistic stuff. I'm just interested to see like what other kinds of games would look like, not just on the Unreal Engine, but just on the next gen consoles.
My biggest thing is, um, and what you just touched on, Ray, is are games actually going to be able to look like that all the time, or is there always
Mm-hmm.
going, or is there going to be a graphical drop off?
So,
Because yeah, I mean, it looks good, absolutely, it looks good, but don't show me that, and that's not what I'm going to be getting.
Right.
Because now you, you're basically
Setting the
blue
setting
bar
your
too high.
balls.
yeah you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting the bar way too high, knowing that you can't achieve that.
Because everything has limitations, and like even as far as we've come, there's still like certain limitations that developers have to like get around to like make shit look better or like not have too much going on at the screen at one time. Because I remember watching like a developer movie about like God of War, like the newest one, and making everything in certain cutscenes, like they wanted like a lot more to be going on in like the background and stuff, but like they just didn't have enough like time or like assets or like whatever for like the system rig to like handle it all happening at one time. So like they had to compromise. So I'm imagining that, you know, with this they still had to make certain compromises and stuff. And even like when we were talking about the new consoles the last time I was on, we were talking about like how the consoles were like overheat and stuff. And that could be a major big thing too if you're like overworking the console. So I'm hoping they like work out those kinks. But like it looks good. I'm hoping that like developers are just smart enough to like make shit to like where they can push it, but then it's not like you're like suffering off of like maybe like frame rate or just like game breaking kind of stuff. Because like everything's supposed to be running at like 60 frames nowadays, but like some games just don't because they can't handle it.
So, what I understand from the video, whatever that game is supposed to be, um, what they were really trying to accomplish was getting as many of those I guess triangles
Yeah.
into a picture at once without what's the word I'm looking for, without
Crashing the
compromising
shit,
on
honestly.
what's up.
Crashing it, honestly.
Yeah, without compromising on the quality of the scenery and any and all that. So what they did was like they tried to get as much as they can in one area to see if like they can withhold that the level of graphics, and whether or not they can maintain that this next console, it's definitely going to be easier as the years go on. So eventually, yeah, gaming is going to be to where like your whole game is going to look as beautiful as that, if not better, in the future.
Especially if you play on PC.
Yeah, if you want to spend the money to keep up with your PC, yeah, sure.
Well,
Hey,
from what
it's a
I'm
rich
hearing,
man's game.
from what I'm hearing, the PlayStation 5's SSD is highly more advanced than the SSDs that PCs use today.
Which
So
would be
for
awesome.
yeah, for at least a year, you're going to see the PlayStation 5 is going to be technically advanced more than PCs, but PCs are going to catch up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was the part I didn't get because like even if it is, it shouldn't be for long because most of the PCs, the gaming PCs, are custom built. So it only takes for someone to put in the SSD,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah, but if they don't have the SSD available to them, then you know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
mean.
if it's Sony's like exclusively making it, and not sharing it, then yeah,
Yeah,
Sony's gonna be.
Sony's really good about having like their own proprietary stuff. Which is how like when the like PlayStation Vita came out, you couldn't use like any kind of memory discs or whatever on it to like save your data. You could only buy like their memory sticks, which cost like way too much money.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah, which
PlayStation
was
2 games you can't use different memory cards to save the games
Yeah,
on.
it's really weird. You need like a Sony proprietary thing, and like that's good because like especially if they can make consoles more so where like you can actually replace parts, which for the most part you can, and it's like you could definitely just help yourself out with that. Like I don't have any issues with PC gaming and everything. Obviously, I just don't have the money to do it, but you know, it looks it's always gonna look better because you can always upgrade it. But like I've never been too big on that anyways. Like I mean, it looks great, sure. I'm just curious to see how like shit's gonna look. Like I really don't care how my games look, to be honest. As long as they're
I'll
good.
tell any gaming company that might listen to this, unless your name is Michael Saunders, you can get by anyone passing graphics if you have great story and great gameplay.
Yeah, dude, you could definitely do it. Because I could give a rat's hoot about like what the game looks like. Most of my favorite games are on the PS2, so it's like I could really not. I could care less of like what it looks like.
yeah. Well, a lot of times, well, that's really what matters. I mean, a lot of people's selling point is graphics,
Yeah, like
but
they spent like 5 minutes just talking about lighting. You know?
yeah, but the most important thing is
That was
story, and
pretty cool though.
It was.
it is a story, and it is the gameplay because you can have the most beautiful game in the world, but if it plays like shit and the story's shit, then what's the
Yeah,
point of it being the best looking game in the world?
yeah, it's not engaging.
But then you have games like uh, we can go with GTA 2 that doesn't necessarily look great. It's a
Nope.
top down game, but the
Mm-hmm.
story was pretty decent. The gameplay was nice and solid.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Um, I mean, yeah, story's way more important than graphics. Even
it's
right,
like
it's nice to have a game that looks beautiful, but at the same time, I'm not gonna spend $60 on a game that looks beautiful when the gameplay and story shit.
yeah, it's like if you were to just tell me like, oh yeah, WWE 2K20 looks freaking amazing, but like give me like SmackDown 2 on the PS1 any day of the week. It's so much more fun to play. Like I don't want to play something that like just looks good and the gameplay's just boring as hell.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to play that shit.
Especially when 2K20 just crashes.
Yeah, it still doesn't work to this day. So
Hey, 2020 hit and the game was done.
2K21 is canceled. That's how bad 2K20 was. 2K20 is not even fixable at this point. It doesn't work.
Alright, so like something alright, so like moving on to like things you don't want to see. Something I really don't want to see in this next gen of consoles is like there is a trend with like remaking games, bringing back games that were like really popular in the back of the day, and like something I really don't like about games and shows is inconsistency. Like if my character can do something 2 chapters ago or a couple games ago, that character should be able to do that same thing in the current game. Now I understand you need limits for story. For example, God of War. This man Kratos can't swim or jump.
Yeah.
This motherfucker can clear a 1, maybe 2-story house in the old games.
Yeah, well, like a
And glide.
one-story house. Yeah.
What's wait, what?
He could clear like a one-story house. I don't know about 2 stories.
Yeah, I don't know. That said maybe. I don't
The wings can be explained though.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, gliding. But I'm saying, like, there's no reason this man can't go for a swim or at least jump. Like, if I understand, you gotta have certain mechanics in there to like make the game like help out your story, but at the same time, you're taking away from a character that everyone loved, and like you're taking it just doesn't make sense. If you're worried about him getting to places he shouldn't be able to get to, makes the obstacle he needs to climb higher.
Right. I think, especially with God of War, that was a major gripe with me. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't because it was. Like me personally, yes, I love God of War 4. We're just gonna call it God of War 4. Because it was a fantastic game and it was so well put together. But me personally, I prefer the old gameplay style because it's just what I'm more accustomed to playing. Like I like hack and slash, so like I really like the gameplay. It was good, but like I understand like where they felt they needed to change it to where it was like it felt new and it just felt familiar to old fans, but it was something new and that they could just kind of have something fresh and like the over the shoulder camera and all that stuff. But I did kind of wish that he was able to double jump a little bit or something instead of having to like walk all the way to a ledge and press circle to jump over these gaps that are just like so small. And it's like you even see him in cutscenes jump higher than that. So it's kind of like, it's weird. But I guess that goes back to like limitations and stuff. They just didn't want you to be able to like free form roam around like that. I don't know what it has to do with. Like it might disorient the camera a little bit jumping like that with the camera over the shoulder. But yeah, interesting design choice. And I feel like sometimes those little sacrifices are made and nobody's going to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to play God of War 4 because of the jumping or whatever." But
Or like
I'm sure there's a small group of people that are like, "Yo, I love the old games. I hate the new one." There's probably
or like what Tony said, vice versa. Instead of taking an old thing and putting something new, taking a new thing and putting something old with Resident Evil 3 remake. You took old gameplay and put it into an action scenario, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, because okay, to me, and this is not just like a Resident Evil thing, it's like a in general kind of thing. Because I'm not a big fan of them remaking everything. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't think everything needs a remake. Like I just saw the trailer for the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remakes, and I'm like, okay,
Super
cool,
excited.
cool, yeah, cool games. Don't get me wrong. Like everybody liked playing those growing up, but like I was just like, if you would have asked me like a list of 10 games I want to remade, it really wasn't on there. But like it's cool, but like you know, it's obviously just for marketing, and like they could easily sell it off.
That's
But
actually interesting.
to me, Resident Evil 1 remake was the most well done remake that's ever been done. Because you managed to literally take something that was like antiquated, it's old, like it's just something that just doesn't work nowadays, or at least supposedly, and you remade it to where like you could easily appease new fans and keep the old fans happy just because you didn't really change the game. You added certain elements to it, but you did not change the game. And that's basically what a good remake entails. Like if you look at the Crash and Spyro remake, sure, mechanically Crash remake is a little different, but it didn't stray too far from what made the game good.
Spyro plays exactly the same. For
Yeah, Spyro seems to play exactly the same. I never played the originals, but from what Shinji tells me, it plays exactly the same. And it
And he
feels
felt
like
it
it
in
at
some
times.
levels. Yeah, he felt
Yeah,
it.
it felt like it sometimes. I was like, oh god, this is horrible, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But that's what a good remake is, and it's like Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3 remake were more like reimaginings more than they were remakes because they just changed a lot, and like they really hit the nail right on the head with Resident Evil 2 remake because it was a great game, but like as a remake, I can't call it like a totally like perfect remake, but it was a great game. And Resident Evil 3 is just Resident Evil 3. Like it just changed too much, and there was no real Resident Evil aspect to it for the most part. It's like you missed the mark as far as a remake, but you made a good game. But as far as remakes go, like it's important to take what made the game good in the first place and put it out there again, not just completely abandon it, slap the title onto the game, and then people that are expecting something to be completely disappointed.
Well, I personally, I think Resident Evil 3 was just a cash grab.
Yeah, it was, and you
It was,
slapped a name on it, and
I
it's
mean,
like, oh
for
yeah,
to
this
be
is Resident Evil
fair,
3.
all games are cash grabs. All of them.
yeah, yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
but some people actually put some time and effort into making their cash grabs. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this wasn't really.
This
No,
was
They
purely
it
we're
was
gonna
rushed.
hustle you out of your money and give you crap.
It's
it
we're
was
gonna build
almost
hype. We're gonna build
it was
hype,
it
and we're
was
gonna take advantage of
it
your
was
wallet.
well, like I said in the earlier episode, Resident Evil 3 just seemed like a way to push their terrible multiplayer game,
Yeah.
which I haven't even I don't even have it downloaded on my PlayStation 4. I never had any intention on playing it. It tried to download on my PlayStation 4. I paused it and deleted it. I have no interest in playing it whatsoever. See, me, like I said before, me going in, I was interested to see how they were going to do the water sample puzzle again.
Yep.
Um, I, when I found out that they took out the quick time reaction thing, I was like, okay. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. But then they cut out so much.
Yep.
Like the whole clock tower thing was reduced to nothing. You basically just fought a mutated nemesis there when that clock tower that clock tower section in the OG Resident Evil 3 was a huge part of the story. Um, the way how no like the the RNG in the game was basically any section you went in, you had a different encounter with. So the
Mm-hmm.
first time you played the game, if you went through the park, you would encounter maybe dogs in one section. The second time you played it, instead of the dogs, it'd be zombies. The third time you played it, instead of zombies, it'd be I forgot what the monsters are called, but you'd encounter those
Oh, the
weird.
drain demos,
No, it wasn't them. It was the
cockroach
one
things.
the things that you run into in the hospital with Carlos, where you have to shoot
Oh,
the
the
shell
hunters,
off. Yeah, like you would encounter the hunters in the park, and
which
then
they
you
scrapped from the new game because they completely changed the hunter gamut.
yeah, and then you get rid of one another big boss fight was that big ass worm. Like
Grave
you
digger, yeah.
yeah, you basically got rid of that. It's just and then the game like people said it was like 5 or 6 hours long. I mean, someone like me who actually struggled the first time playing it, beat in 4.5 hours and was fucking disappointed.
Yeah,
I was just like, yo, is this it?
it's not a good remake.
And then every single time after that, I beat it faster and faster and faster. I think my fastest time might have been just over an hour, maybe just under an hour, but it was so unsatisfying. It just
Just a
I don't know.
really linear, although very pretty looking game. It was
Yeah,
very linear. It was very bare bones. Like it just didn't have a whole lot to it, and that's why people just left feeling like empty-handed because it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough there, and that's what
yeah,
I
and
don't want. That's what I don't want out of games going forward. It's like don't give me something that like yeah, sure, it looks great and everything, but like there's not enough here for me to like the game.
You know, I wish I didn't hate tank control so much because like it sounds like I would like Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil 3 better than this one because
Yeah,
it
you
has
would.
more puzzles and like right now my favorite Resident Evil game is one because of the puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another huge disappointment. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if you can call them puzzles. They were just obstacles.
Yeah, they weren't hard. There's nothing to it. It's like you don't really have to think that hard to get through their stuff.
Yeah, it was. I don't
And
know.
like I said, like the fixed camera angle thing isn't that bad in in Resident Evil 1 remake because like they gave you the option like if you don't want to use hand controls, you can use the analog stick. It does make for clunkier movement though because I've noticed certain times when I watch Shinji play it, he would go one direction and then when the camera would shift, like he would completely disorient himself because like he would just run in like a completely different direction, which
Fucking
is
sucked.
the reason they made tank controls in the first place. Because no matter what, if you're pressing up, you're moving forward, no matter how many times the camera changes. But I get
Yeah,
it. It's not for everybody because it can be a little clunky sometimes, and it's kind of hard to get used to. Like you really have to spend time to get good at tank control. But obviously that doesn't work today. Like today, you can't really have tank controls anymore. It just doesn't really work for people. It's just more of like a nostalgic thing for people that like used to use tank controls. But fixed camera angles can still be done. It just
yeah,
needs to be polished differently and done differently because fixed camera angles were done in the first place back in the day to work with system limitations. That's basically what they were there for, and to like give the game a little more of a cinematic feel. So that's why they kind of like mechanically built their game around the fact that there were fixed camera angles. And like the triangles thing in the Unreal Engine video was pretty cool because it reminded me back in the day how
Finish
they
that
would
crash video.
make the crash games, yeah, and they would hide stuff behind things to kind of make sure the game wouldn't crash on itself because you didn't have too much on the screen at one time. Like stuff like that's really cool. But again, it's more important to make something that mechanically works well and for me content because content is always a big thing for me in games. If there's not enough content I don't really want to play. So
yeah. And speaking, speaking of content, man, that's also a big. That's also another big thing that I like. Stop releasing these bare bone ass games, and
mm-hmm.
then basically telling me, oh, if you want to experience what should be in the game, buy this season pass, buy this DLC. Like I can, I'll use a perfect example: the first division, right? Super excited when I first heard about that game. I think it was back in 2014, 2015. Heard about that game. Super excited about it. First looter shooter that I really ever got excited for. Is I'm not a huge looter shooter guy. The game released. I love the missions. I love exploring New York. I found every single hidden file thingy, whatever. But then once you were done with the game, there's literally nothing to do. Just go in the dark zone and do PvP.
Yeah.
And then their DLC was underwhelming as hell. Like the first one, Underground, there was literally only four different missions that you can add directives to, and the directives made it harder, but it gave you more rewards. Well, the problem with that is the rewards still aren't that great. Even with the Division Two, where they had an update where you can add directives to missions, and you're supposed to get better rewards. Well, I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty, but I'm playing on the second hardest difficulty, and I'm still getting this shit gear that I really can't use.
Mm-hmm.
The best mode that Division had have released was survival mode. So I mean, if you that I could see that being DLC, absolutely. But Underground and then their other PvP mode, which I forgot, I keep forgetting what it's called. That those probably should have been launched with the game. And you gave us a bare bones game for almost a year, and then you released this dreck that wasn't worth playing except for survival. It's just I don't know. That's and I don't see it getting any better in the future. I actually see it getting worse,
Oh yeah.
where they're just going to continue to make these games absolute bare bones. They're not going to be filled with content. Here, buy this DLC, buy this Game Pass,
Because
blah
they know
blah
they can get
blah.
away with it. Because people
Yeah,
still buy it.
like
Like,
I love Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but there's no reason why the things that are on that battle pass, there's no reason why I can't do in-game challenges to unlock that stuff instead of just mindlessly playing through Warzone or Team Deathmatch or whatever multiplayer crap you have to do.
or a copious amount of hours. Because certain things are just priced so high that you might as well just spend money.
Yeah, and like it seems like every single day they release a new DLC pack that you can buy. And it's just like, come on, man. Like you should be giving people a chance to unlock this stuff through playing the game, not
Yeah,
just
not only
here.
that, it's if you do the battle pass, most of the stuff costs over 1,000 credits, and you only get like 100 every 30 levels in a battle pass or some shit like that. And that's if
Yeah,
you don't have the battle pass, so you get like 1 or 200 if you complete it for free.
yeah. I just hate how now today these video games are just so predatory.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like anything else, like new phones. Like, oh, you have to have this phone. Your phone, your current phone you have is going to be absolutely obsolete. And they hype up these phones, and it's like the only difference is this phone's a little faster than my old one. I don't absolutely need this one. But then you got companies like Apple who I said for years before they ever admitted it that they were intentionally slowing down their older phones to force you to go buy a new one. And I was saying that 3 or 4 years before they ever admitted to it. Because there's no reason why I had an iPhone 4S, and for the first 2 years I had that phone worked just fine. And then like the iPhone 5S comes out, and now my phone just is a brick. The same
Mm-hmm.
things that it used to be able to do, it doesn't do anymore. Like I went to bed one night, my phone was working just fine, and the next morning I could barely get the phone to boot up without having issues. So
Gummy.
yeah,
It's the
it's
same
just
thing with a lot of electronics, especially like we were just mentioning, like the whole PC thing. Like, of course, they're gonna keep pumping out new shit because like they want you to buy new stuff, and it's like most of the time, if you have a decent enough rig, you don't need to buy a new computer because you can just keep putting new parts in it. But they'll convince you to buy a new computer for some reason.
yeah, and I,
You don't really need to buy new computers that often, but they'll make you feel like you need to just because they need to sell something.
yeah, and I agree with you being able to upgrade your console just by yourself. You
Yeah,
know, because then essentially what happens is like when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One first came out, I thought they were 4K compatible. But then it turned out not to be 4K compatible. Why wouldn't you make it 4K compatible if you knew that was coming down the road? Instead, you released the Xbox One X and you released the PlayStation 4 Pro.
mm-hmm.
So you're basically telling these people, oh well, you know, if you want to play these beautiful looking games, then you're gonna have to buy a whole brand new console.
Yeah, and even then, like not all 4K TVs are created equal either.
Yeah, like
They make
what?
you feel the need to spend on like a top tier 4K TV as opposed to like just any old 4K TV.
Yeah, like back in 2018, December 2018, I basically updated all my shit. Like I went and bought a 4K TV, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love my 4K TV. Never had an issue with it. And then went and spent another like $430 on the PlayStation 4 Pro. And I mean, I'm happy with it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about it at all. But still, it would have been nice to have when these consoles first come out, still be compatible with 4K. I mean, look, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are coming out, and they're 8K compatible. I didn't know they were working on an 8K TV until these consoles said that they were 8K compatible. And then I started looking into it, and yeah, these TVs were basically already out.
Yeah. Which resolution's another big thing that like yeah, you could keep making these new fancy TVs that like look real nice, but it's already been scientifically proven that past a certain point your eyes can't tell the difference.
I can honestly tell you that the only thing that this 4K, I mean, don't get me wrong, the games look beautiful in 4K,
Yeah.
but another thing about 4K is you sit here and play these games too long, the brightness from that TV blurs your vision because it happens to me all the time. Where if I play a game where, like, for instance, Madden, there's a lot of white in Madden when it comes to navigating the menus in the franchise mode, and after staring at that white for a couple hours, my vision is blurred, and it takes a couple hours after playing it just for my vision to be corrected again.
Right. That actually reminds me of something that I don't even need to really elaborate too much on. Sinji already knows I hate this. I'm gonna put this out because I want, even if one person that develops games can hear this, stop using motion blur in games. Motion blur is useless. It looks ugly. It hurts my eyes. And I'm so glad that like some games give you the option to turn it off because motion blur is the worst.
The first game I remember having motion blur was Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I actually stopped playing it when I first bought it because I couldn't deal with it until one of my buddies in school said, "Yo, you know you can turn that off, right?" So I went and turned it off, and my experience with it was so much better.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
motion
you
blur
don't.
fucks your eyes up, man.
Yeah, you just don't. I mean, I don't know if they're doing it for realism, but man,
It's
they at
also
least
for
get.
like stability for some games too. Like sometimes they feel like shit just looks ugly just the way it is, and they add motion blur to it for some reason. Just make it look better. But it's like it doesn't make anything look better. It just hurts your eyes. Like I remember when EA Sports got the license to do UFC for the in the beginning, like they had motion blur on by default, and I would just turn it off because I was like, dude, why do I need motion blur when literally the only thing you need to see on the screen is two fighters and a ring? Like, what are you hiding with motion blur? Like, it just hurts your eyes. It's not visually appealing. Like, we don't need motion blur in a freaking UFC game.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think they're purposely using motion blur to hide maybe imperfections?
Yeah, I feel like they do because the last game that I just played that had motion blur was the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and honestly, it had motion blur, and I took it off. And to me personally, the game looks fine, but I could see why they used the motion blur because like I felt like they probably just felt like certain animations, like transitioning and going back to like certain camera angles, just looked better if the character model had the motion blur on it. Because sometimes like Spyro would look a little stiff or something, like he would look a little janky coming out of an animation, which a credit to them, they just made it play a lot like the original. So like of course the movement sometimes is gonna look a little janky, but they literally just put it in there to make Spyro look better. It really didn't improve anything. It was just kind of like other than visually, there was no real need to have the motion blur. And I feel like a lot of games do that because like they feel like when they're, especially when their games don't run at 60 frames per second, like they can hide a lot with just having motion blur on their game,
Yeah.
which to me just doesn't help. It just doesn't help, especially not for people like me who have horrible eyesight and like don't want to have to like strain themselves playing video games.
Yeah. But also to touch on something that you said earlier, um, I agree. Not everything needs to be remade,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like the nostalgia that does come with some of these remade games.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
there's plenty of games that I would like to be remade just to play them again. Like a game when you first mentioned it, a game I was thinking about was this game called Winback that originally came out in
Oh,
for
Winback was awesome.
yeah, it originally came out in for the Nintendo 64, where like if you got shot like in the leg or something, it wouldn't do as much damage as it would if you got shot in the chest or in your head. You take massive amounts of damage. And
Yeah,
I never got a chance to beat the game because I never owned it. I only ever rented it from Blockbuster. But
right.
it was still a great game. And I think gems like that should have a chance to be remade.
It got a
Um,
sequel. I played Winback too.
I should never play one back too.
Yeah, I played Winback too. It came out on the PlayStation 2.
and I don't even mind reimagined games. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
like so I understand some games you get some of the fat should be trimmed off, but if you're going to trim off some of that fat, why don't you add something else to it instead of just screw it? We're going to cut this out, and well now the game is shorter. And I'm not saying you need a game that's like 50 plus hours in order for it to be good. It doesn't have to be that long, but I mean, like let's say a Resident Evil 3. I don't know how long they said it would take. So let's say you basically took a 10-hour game and you cut 5 hours out of it. Well, at least give me 2 to 3 hours of some other some new shit or something else. You know what I mean? Not just trim it and we're done with it. Like that. That's why I'm kind of not excited for Resident Evil 4. I can only imagine what they're going to trim out of that. Um, they're. I feel like they're going to cut hours and hours out of that game with nothing to
And I just
replace
feel
it
like
with.
there's not much you can remake with Resident Evil 4. Like that's the thing I'm having a hard time thinking about because sure Resident Evil 2 and 3, you could remake the cinematic style. You changed it to over the shoulder. You did all that. Well, Resident Evil 4 was the first game that did over the shoulder. They revolutionized over the shoulder camera because like Resident Evil 4 did it pretty much first and then everybody else started doing it. So they already have third person over the shoulder. The only thing you can really do with Resident Evil 4 is just kind of clean up some of the gameplay. But basically, what you're going to do is copy paste Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake because that's what they're using as the Resident Evil engine. So it's only going to control like marginally better, and it's just going to look better. But like other than that, I don't see what you're gonna add to Resident Evil 4 that's gonna make it feel like a brand new thing. It's just basically if they're gonna do it, they should just make it a one for one remake and then just update it with the Resident Evil engine. Other than that, there's nothing they can really do, at least in my eyes, unless they want to add something completely new, which Capcom isn't really known for going all out with that kind of stuff. Unless they know that they can add it on and just make money off of it.
Hmm.
It's really hard for me to see that, especially like it's the same thing with Resident Evil 5, which like me and CG just finished playing, and like we would be mentioning stuff like that, and like you would say like, oh yeah, like I would love to see this remade, and I'm just like, it's probably not gonna happen because like a lot of people didn't really like Resident Evil 5. I personally did because it's a really fun multiplayer game, but at the same time, if they remade it, I just don't know what they would really be doing with it because like other
Man,
than
fuck Resident
updating
Evil 5. I
graphics.
want to see Lost in Nightmares full game version.
Nah, I'd take Resident Evil 1, another remake of that before I take
That's what I'm saying. Like, just that.
Yeah.
What they did in Lost Nightmares.
If you
That'd
want
be
to, if you
great.
want to do a Resident Evil 1 remake with the Resident Evil engine, that's fine. Because like I'll never get tired of playing Resident Evil 1, no matter how you put out the gameplay style. I even like the Resident Evil 1 sections in what is it, Survivor? I like those. And those are like railgun shooting kind of things. But it's cool because like I just love the setting of Resident Evil 1. I love the story of Resident Evil 1. So it's like I'll never get tired of playing it. But like Resident Evil 4, it's like I get it. Some people really, really love that game. And for some people it's like their favorite Resident Evil, but it just doesn't do enough for me to be like, oh yeah, I want a full fledged remake of that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I just saw, like, when we got to the Lost in Nightmares part of the DLC, and
Yeah.
it was, like, basically, like, Resident Evil 1, but, like, in that engine, I was like, oh my god, give me this. I already love Resident Evil 1. The only thing I don't like about it is the fixed camera angles because they fuck me up and I get disoriented when I'm trying to turn a corner sometimes.
Yeah, which again, it's because of the free analog movement. But I'm glad they put it in. Because like it would have definitely turned a lot of people off hand controls. But Resident Evil Remake looks so good. And like I feel like it just added to the whole experience to have it be fixed. But yeah, like I said, I don't mind a remake that doesn't have it. I think it should be an option. I feel like you should be able to play both ways. Obviously, it's going to take longer to develop a game that way, but if you would have gave me Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake where you could have played the game over and played it like fixed the way it was originally, I would play the game again. Because I have not played Resident Evil 3 more than like 2 times at this point. The remake. I have not, because I just haven't had a reason to do it. Resident Evil 2, the only reason I have is that, like, I speedrun it sometimes. Other than that, I don't really have a reason to replay Resident Evil 2 remake.
Well, I
Give
feel
people
like
options.
going back on what I said about like not change, like being consistent with characters in games. Like, all right, if you want to cut something out of something like with Resident Evil 3 remake, they most likely made Resident Evil 3 remake really short so that you would make time for Resistance. That's probably most likely why it's short. But
Well,
like,
that's probably why it doesn't have multiplayer or like anything outside of story.
but like, a lot of games have proven that like whether you push back development, production, or whatever, push back the release date, it doesn't interfere with how much money you're gonna make. Why wouldn't you take the time to just make something both the old fans and new fans are gonna like?
Yeah. Don't you think that like you really think like do people really think that like freaking what is it? What's the name of the game? Last of Us 2 is gonna make any less money because they stalled their development? Hell no. Like that game's gonna like make tons of money.
It's
Honestly,
it's probably gonna win Game of the Year when it comes out.
Yeah, they don't care how long they have to wait to get their hands on the game. Like everybody wants it. But like it doesn't matter if they have to wait. It's crazy. But yeah, I'd rather them not rush something if they know that they can make it better. But sometimes it's not really the developers themselves' fault. It's just the company that's publishing. It's just like, dude, we need this game out, and they have to rush the game out. It's like Kojima with Metal Gear 5. Like he wanted to finish the game, but they just wouldn't let him.
Fuck Metal Gear 5. Silent Hills. I would have killed to play Silent Hills.
That just went into development hell.
Well, they just need it. You know, if
Which
you're gonna charge people over $100,
taking it, so
yeah, I think Tony mentioned it. Like they're trying to make it happen again.
They know what it made money. That's why.
But if you're gonna charge people 60, 80, 100, $120 over the course of a game's lifespan, just like make sure it's good. There's like make sure you're gonna satisfy people. Like, for example, Horizon Zero Dawn 2. If Horizon Zero Dawn 2 comes out, I want to be able to do everything I was able to do in the first game. Because you have to imagine by now, people have fully upgraded Aloy. I want to be able to have all the outfits I've had in the first game and just give me better ones in the second game. Don't take away everything I have and make me get it all again. That's stupid.
Yeah, they expect you to suspend your disbelief on that for some reason, and then just give you the same upgrade. It's like that when you. I always remembered that a lot in like Far Cry. It's like you're basically always giving me the same things I've always had. Like I've always had the flight suit. I've always had these abilities to sneak attack and everything, but you take them away from me. Same thing in God of War 1 through 3. Like for a lot of times, it's like Kratos has all these abilities, but like they strip them from him every single time. At least they try to offer like some storyline reason as to why he doesn't have half this stuff. But at least the Blades of Chaos, I should be able to do all my combos. Like we shouldn't just take away my combos with the Blades of Chaos.
Especially because
it's a development kind of thing. They just need to give you something to work towards, upgrade skills and whatnot. And not every game needs a skill tree, guys. Just saying. Not every
Well,
game needs a freaking skill tree. I swear, I don't know why developers just keep taking stuff from other games and you're just like, well, it works for this game. We're just gonna use it too. I don't like
I don't.
that.
I don't
It's
mind
lazy.
skill trees the way God of War did it, where you pretty much you don't have to buy one thing to get the one thing you want. You can pretty much get everything you want to use and uh, upgrade to the way your game style is.
Yeah, I just feel like people recycling shit that like doesn't belong in certain games just because it's popular in other game series just annoys the hell out of me. Like permadeath. I've seen games that have permadeath that don't need permadeath. I'm just like, why? Like, why do you have it? Because like freaking Dark Souls have it, and Dark Souls makes a lot of money. Like, I get it. Don't You don't need to put it in your game. Like, it doesn't belong. I think it's lazy on a lot of developers' parts when they do stuff like that. That's why it's always nice to see stuff made by like companies that aren't really that popular, and you can tell that, like they put a lot of time and effort into creating something different. That's what I want
well,
to see. It's like a lot of people just not taking ideas from each other, and like it just doesn't work.
What's up, Tony?
well, Ray, I want to touch on something that you said a minute ago
Mm-hmm.
about it not always being the developers that are pushing these games out, but the publisher. I feel like, I don't know, maybe he's already come out with his reason why he left, but Dan Houser, one of the co co-founders of Rockstar Games, I feel like the reason why he stepped down from his position is because Take Two Interactive basically told Rockstar, like, hey, listen, you guys need to start putting out more games
Yeah.
instead of one or two games every generation. And I feel like for him, he's like, well, you know, I feel like Rockstar they have a high standard for high quality games
Yeah.
where you know Red Dead Redemption 2's online isn't that great, but the main story is phenomenal. Uh, Even though GTA 5 is more recognized for its online play, the story mode to me was still amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I beat it like 3 or 4 times because I enjoyed it, and I actually may go back to it again before the PlayStation 5 comes out. Um, yeah, I feel like these publishers they set these unrealistic deadlines for these developers, and it's like, yo, you have to give you got to give these developers more time to cook,
Yeah.
you know. And then they get mad at these developers when they don't meet expectations and shit like that. It's like, well, you basically told me 3 years ago that you want this massive open world game and you want this included, you want that included. It's gonna take more than 3 years to get this done.
Yeah.
So then what happens is you release this underwhelming, unfinished game that fans were super hyped about, and now your fan base is basically mad at you because you put out this terrible game, and then the developers get a bad name, and then the publishers throw them under the bus, and it's like, it's a lose lose situation all around the board.
Yep. And that's why 2K literally had to give up on like making a wrestling game this year because they just were on a yearly release, and it's like even the fans were just telling like they were just saying like if you need to take more than 1 year to give us what we want out of a wrestling game, just do it. But like obviously there's like other companies involved, and of course WWE wants them to like release a game like every year, and like even since they canceled 2K21, like they were releasing side projects of games, and like they're putting out this little mini game that's like an arcade style wrestling game, but like you could already tell by the assets they were using and like everything that this was a game that they had in development hell for like a couple years, and they're like, all right, we'll just polish this up and release this as a game in the meantime, because
What?
it's just a corporate decision that they're like, dude, we need something out with the WWE name on it. But it's like, if you would take your time to make these games and make them good, they're gonna make a lot of money. Because even more so back in the day, even non-wrestling fans played wrestling games because they were pretty fun to play. And it just attracted people because they were just fun, well-made games. And of course, back then, yeah, they released yearly, but it was because like back then making games was a bit easier than it is now. Like now you need a little bit more time, and it's like you have companies that do like Grand Theft Auto. They take like 5 or 6 years in between games. Even games like Tekken take like 5 or 6 years in between games, and they're just fighting games. But they know that like when they release their games, they're gonna make a crap ton of money because they're just good.
I'm almost I'm almost under the umbrella where like sports games like 2K, Madden, FIFA, even wrestling games. Why don't you just make them free to play? Make them free to
That's an
play.
interesting
You can
dynamic. Yeah.
you can do like a subscription base where you pay, I don't know, like $10 a month to for their services or whatnot, and then instead of having to put out a brand new game every year, just do updates.
Yeah,
Just do updates.
because all these marginal improvements, they're not really worth $60.
No, they're not. Because basically every year in Madden, you're paying for an updated roster,
Yeah,
and
and a
may
new user interface. That's about it.
yeah, and maybe new and improved game physics. But I mean, I'm pretty sure you can use an update um to fix physics and gameplay and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I I don't really see a need to have to put out a new one every single year. Then you have, 'cause someone who plays 2K, like, it's a little demoralizing where a whole year you bust your ass to get your my player up to the point where, you know, you're an absolute beast. Then you got to turn around and do it all over again the following year. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of sucks.
And touching
Mm-hmm.
on sports, guys, anyone who participates in making a sports game or has any or like streams and like they cater to someone like you, we need to get the word out. Simulation difficulty, Hall of Fame, and things like that, they don't make the game realistic. Making my team worse doesn't make the game realistic.
Yeah, or like for instance 2K, like if I got a guy who has a Hall of Fame uh a guy has a Hall of Fame badge, he's a dead eye shooter from the corner, but because I'm playing on Hall of Fame, his percentage where he was hitting that shot at 60% a clip drops down to like 30 to 40% a clip. That's retarded.
Right.
And then the team you're controlling basically becomes the computer you would play if it was on rookie. So it's not it's unrealistic. That's
And
why
they
you see a
need
lot.
to. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish there.
That's why like on YouTube, there's this one guy. Shout out to Ray Weather, Eric Ray Weather. He says, there's a lot of guys in the Madden community who don't play on all Madden because it's super unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
They play on all pro, and then they just have sliders to where they make it real. They make it realistic. And
Yeah.
even when you play Madden online, I haven't played Madden online in a very long time, but when a lobby that you get into, the difficulty is all pro. It ain't all Madden,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And you're talking to someone who did nothing but play on all Madden. And don't get me wrong, all Madden was easy back in the day until we got into the PlayStation 4, Xbox One era. Then the defense got way better, so all Madden is a lot harder. But if I have an offensive line that is the best offensive line in the game, but I'm still struggling to get 5 rushing yards a game. I mean, come on, that's happened to me in the past Maddens where I cannot play on all Madden anymore. Where
Mm-hmm.
plays that my cornerbacks can make an All Pro, they won't make an All Madden. It's like they're dumbed down, like block shedding. Like for instance, Khalil Mack, who's one of the best linebackers in the game, he plays linebacker and defensive end. Where if I put him as an edge rusher, he should be blown by tackles, the lower level tackles with ease. Where in all Madden, these guys are pancaking me, and I can't get any pressure on the quarterback. Where the freaking computer can move the ball up and down the field seamlessly, where I'm struggling just to get a pass off because on my 3 step drop, I've already got somebody in my face.
Yeah, there's a difference between making something actually challenging and making something just overwhelmingly difficult for the sake of it being difficult. And it goes across the board in sports games because, like, even competitive players in MLB The Show don't play on the highest difficulty because it's just not realistic and it's really unfair. So it's like, I don't really understand who they make these difficulties for. It's just people that are pretty much masochists and, like, want to play a game that's, like, totally unrealistic.
Yeah,
But
and I
if
used
you
to
want,
play 2K on Hall of Fame mode and won a lot more games than I lost. But
Yeah,
it's disappointing when you have a guy that's a knockdown 3 point shooter and he's wide open
you can't
and
pass him the ball. You just can't.
and well, I mean you
yeah,
can pass on the ball, but he's not going to knock that 3 point shot down at a high clip because the difficulty is basically saying, hey,
the
listen,
game
yeah,
told you you're not going to do it.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with your skills and how well you play the game. It's not going in. And I feel like most sports games should have like settings for this kind of stuff. Like there should be an arcade style and a simulation style because some people just like playing sports games that are arcadey. It's such a thing. And to kind of just give you a little foresight, there is one company, although it's not an American company. The company, I don't even know who develops the freaking game, but the company that does the baseball game in Japan, which is really really good, they released last year, and they've basically gone outright saying they're not gonna release a yearly baseball game because there's no point, and they would like to develop something better if they're gonna put something out every year. So they basically before the whole pandemic and everything, before the season started, all they did was they put out a big update to where like you get all the new players that were coming in for the season, all the updated rosters, like all this update stuff for free. Like they just updated the game for people to have like updated stuff, and then they're like, when we get the new game out, then you get the new game, but otherwise you didn't need to buy a new game this year. So
yeah.
if they're a company that's much smaller than like 2K or Sony San Diego that does MLB and they can afford to do it, these bigger companies can afford to do it too.
Well, it's not that they can't afford to do it; it's just they don't want to do it because
Yeah,
But
because they
the problem is, they're charging people so much. Well, yeah, they can afford to give out free updates and things like that. But you're charging people for shit, and it doesn't even seem like you're using the money that we're giving you to make the next
60
game
bucks.
better.
no, they're not.
$60, and every year they manage to put out like a digital deluxe or like a collector's edition or some stupid crap.
Then you could buy stubs, VC, whatever the hell you buy Madden to
Yep.
upgrade
You
players or
turn a
some shit.
$60 game turns into like a $500 game.
Well, then, like I said before, like you're not going to see you're not going to see a free to play subscription based sports game because they already know. They know that if they put out a brand new game, YouTubers are going to buy it. YouTubers are going to probably spend the most money opening packs, buying VC to upgrade their player because
Yeah, they're the ones that can
YouTube,
afford it.
yeah, because YouTubers are not going to sit there and waste time grinding a character who's a 60 overall to a 99 overall. They're not going to do that, and
They
it's
can
not going
afford
to,
to spend it because they're going to make the money back on the video.
yeah, and it's not good for their channel or whatnot. They're just not going to do it. But see,
Yeah.
now the problem with that is, so now you got kids who are seeing this and they're like, well, shit, I don't want to grind either.
Nope.
So shit, you know what? Let me go hit up my mom and dad, see if they'll give me $50 or $100 my birthday or Christmas or just for whatever, so I can buy all this VC, so I can start off at like an overall 85.
Yeah.
You know,
And
because there's no,
you could spend $60 on like 70 something packs in MLB The Show, and you get one diamond card. Some like if you're unlucky, you get one diamond card. So you literally just spent the amount of the game to literally purchase one player out of the freaking like 500 plus players in the game. It's ridiculous.
yeah, it's all predatory. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Like you got YouTubers spending thousands of dollars a week opening up packs for my team or Ultimate Team, and to just to get these pink diamonds or these opal cards or whatnot.
Yep,
So
and
that
that's why they get sponsored.
yeah, and that's why you'll never see a free to play sports game because they know first of all they know everyone's going to buy the new game. They know if they do a free to play that once you basically get a set lineup, there's no reason for you to go spending any more money to try to get any new cards.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead, let's put out this new game. Let's erase basically when you buy this new game, everything that you've done in the game before, you're not going to have that. Your VC doesn't carry over, so now you got to go spend thousands of more dollars just to get these cards again. You know, and I said this in past episodes before. Like YouTubers are a huge problem when it comes to these games because a lot of YouTubers will tell you, your voice can be heard by not supporting these games, but then you turn around and you keep supporting these games. You keep pouring your money into this product, and you're telling us, the consumer, not to do it. It's almost like a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Like I remember I forgot what the guy's name, but I remember watching one of his videos. I think when 2K19 was coming out, and he was like, it was he was basically telling people, don't waste your money on buying the special edition. It's a waste of time. Just go ahead and buy the regular game, and then buy the VC. Well, you went and bought the special edition. Well, that doesn't make sense. Or you have guys who say, "Oh, my team is just it's predatory. It costs so much money to open these packs and to get these rare cards. So then, why do you continuously do it? Why do you continuously keep putting money in these developers' pockets? Who every day you're saying they don't give a damn about the consumer, blah blah blah, but yet you keep putting more money in these motherfuckers' pockets. It makes absolutely no sense. A kid that has, who doesn't know any better, is seeing this and they're like, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, you're telling me not to do this, but look what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm gonna follow from example. So that's why a lot of times is the crap that they do doesn't make sense. I say like I love some of the influence on YouTube, but and again they just they are absolutely part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like I give another example when Soldier Boy came out with that crap console, most of the people that were buying this thing were YouTubers to review it. So why are you sitting there telling us to not buy these consoles? But you bought it.
Yeah, and half of the people that were showing it were exposing the fact that he didn't make a freaking console. They just literally took a console from their bootlegging website and put his name on it for like promotional stuff. So it's like you're already exposing the fact that this is crap, but you're still showing people that you bought it.
Yeah, and so then you'll have the guys they'll buy the console that looks like an Xbox One, and then they'll say, "Oh, this is crap," and then don't buy this. Then they'll turn around and buy the handheld version. Why did you buy the handheld version? What did you think this was going to be better than the home console thing you just bought?
Yeah. The Soldier console, the Soldier watch, the Soldier phone. Oh Jesus
You
Christ! They
already you
all
you
real
all
things.
yeah, you already know that this crap is going to be shit. So just don't even get you. I mean, you're basically giving him free PR
It's
at the end of
Soldier
the day.
Boy. Like, what has he done these whole last couple years that makes you want to buy his stuff?
Yeah, you're giving this guy free PR. So someone who's watching your videos like, oh well, shit, you bought it. Well, let me check it out for myself. Someone who
Shit.
doesn't know any better. You know what I mean? It's just it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
I was never once tempted. I'm like, I'm not buying nothing with Soldier Boy's name on it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, like what the hell's wrong with people? I was like, you guys are crazy.
Watch me dodge that. Watch me roll.
Like unless you're a known like video game developer with like some name value that actually can make something, then I would buy it. But like Soldier Boy don't know a damn thing about making video games. Why would I want his game console?
Exactly. Hey, I don't mean to break up this convo, but are we gonna take a break on this episode?
Uh, is there gonna be another episode?
Well, yeah, there's still more shit we could talk about.
Oh well, yeah. We need to wrap it up now. We're at the hour mark.
All right, yeah, let's take a break because I gotta use the bathroom. I gotta just grab some to eat real quick, so I'm starving.
I anyone got a song?
Oh damn, yeah.
No, 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 no. Why are we doing a song if we're not done recording? We still got a whole other part to do.
If we're not doing it after every part, or we're just doing one per episode?
Yeah, it's one per episode.
Alright, well, my bad, dog. My bad.
Yeah, this could be
Alright.
episode whatever, part 1 and part 2.
Bro, you're the
I mean, a
one
lot
who
of
came
them
up
are
with the
parts.
idea. Jesus.
Shit. But after I
You're
came
the
up with
one
the
that's
idea, we were only
musically
doing one.
inclined.
After I came up with the idea, we were only doing one part.
No, we weren't. We were taking episodes and we were breaking them up in like 5 different parts.
I feel like
That
I'm
was
not a
before
part
the
of this
idea, I
creative
think.
meeting.
I don't know. I don't remember.
All
Whatever.
right.
All right.
Hopefully, all this gets cut out.
No, definitely not. It might. I don't know. Depends how I feel. All right, guys. Well, that's it for part 1 of episode 9. I believe it is episode 9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure episode 9. If you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in part 2. See ya.
See?